Hello, everybody, and welcome to a Gary and Maten chat rubbish.
Nonsense, gibberish, bunch of nonsense.
No, today Maten and I, we are going to do a money one, and that'll probably be next week or maybe a little bit later, because we want to see what kind of happens around the 30th if of a couple of days or today's. I'm not sure when I'm going to drop this, but around the end of October. So what we wanted to do today was actually have a talk about some of the knowings or some of the things that have come into me recently, the expression of the energies that we're currently feeling and going through, and try and put some meat on the bone, and get out there into the collective consciousness, really what's going on, using Maten's amazing charts and his knowledge, so we can hopefully get a bit of a grounding and a feel of what's going on currently. Um, I'm Gary from Alternative Interactions, by the way, and you are.
A 10 from Plutonic Plains. And I'm a little bit red today because I had my red light therapy and because I broke my other light and I hid my camera from myself. So it's just a Mac camera because I don't know where that camera is right now. And so I guess the shadow of Mercury retrograde is getting to me a little, but it's all right. We'll do well. We'll still do well, you know.
We will. Um, so Maten, what are your thoughts at the moment on the energies and what you're feeling and what's going on, and you know, with the current energies that we're, because things have really been ramping up, haven't they? Consistently, month on month, it feels to be that we are approaching some kind of something.
So let me preface by saying that for all listening, remember that we're sharing uh, kind of the foreshadowing of information as it moves through all of us, and especially through the frequencies of the planetary rays. And so understand that when we touch on certain aspects of that can be challenging, that they will happen at different parts of the world, so they won't hit us all the same. And so me and Gary just want to be clear, we're not trying to doom civilization, but penetrate through the clouds of appearances that come in the form of doom, come in the form of gray clouds with storms and rain. And so we want to kind of make sense of what that rain and what that storms really is, because we're always like looking to perceive past the doomed appearance of things, and to what it really is. And we're in a realm of, man, I'm so red. We're in a realm we're in a realm of adversity. So the purpose of our experiences here is practice for other realms. And so, of course, for the most part, things are going to seem very extreme. And we're always going to be between extremes of, intense heights of feeling and in contrast, great depths of opposite feelings, so great heights with corresponding difficult and dark depths. And our purpose as human beings is to straddle the balance between the two and observe both extremes, but be in our center point and to do the best we can. We're always going to play and jump in, different frequencies, but it's the ideal to, even as you listen to this information today that me and Gary share, it's important to just stay in find that place within you that's neutral and really capital B balanced so that you can hear what we're saying, but not attach to it or hold on to it. Just allow that information to come in. Don't even feel the need to like record it or write it down. You've gotten the information. Your body will already be acting accordingly with what's correct for you. And you'll actually just take in what's correct for you or just make that intention because all of what we say may not be for you. And some of it may resonate strongly. And so Gary and I will share today. I'll start by giving us, Gary asked for an outline of the energies for this week. And note that in our last video, that Gary and I did on that that's on both our channels that we did as a collaboration on what's going on with the financial system, the last video we did, we talked a little about this end of the month scenario, October 31st, and leading up to it. And we talked about it and initially in the context of a lot of predictions and a lot of energy is on this latter part of the month, as if there's going to be some kind of Carrington event or there's going to be some kind of electrical mishap, or there's going to be some war mishaps, or there's just going to be something shocking that's going to occur. And so I'll start there and I'll just start with the energy there and then we'll let Gary will respond and share insights he would like to. So I'll start with presently, today is October 28th. So we're actually a couple days away from Hallows Eve. And this is opposite Beltane, so this is opposite the Taurus energy of April 28th. And we don't have a full moon. We're about halfway to the full moon, which will be on November 5th. So let me share the chart real quick. I have two charts to share. One will be the astrology chart and then the human design chart. And so give me a second. Have that prepped. Okay. And I'm sure Gary's got me the permission to share. So let me go ahead and do that. Oh my God, all kinds of weird things are happening. Okay.
Yeah, you're not sharing just yet.
Yeah, it was showing it to me in like three. Oh, I got it. Okay, so I have to send the request. So.
There we go. Hopefully that will.
Okay, so I'll start with the astrology of it. You can see it clear, Gary?
Perfect.
Okay, I'm gonna make it a little larger. Okay, so this is the astrology coming up for Friday. I just put it from San Francisco, but you guys will be relative to where you are in the world. It's not, I'm not putting it at a particular time, so just look at it in general. So what you'll notice about this chart is the moon for the evening of Hallows Eve, Halloween, and this is the most psychic evening of the year. Well, in contrast to Beltane, both of them are because they're the polarity of Taurus and Scorpio. So it's the individuated spirit and it's the depth of exploration of spirit. So it's very psychic. And in addition to that, the moon's going to be in Pisces. So we'll have the sun and moon in water signs. And with Jupiter and Cancer, putting that all together, we have this grand trine that is building right now as we speak. And it'll be going into November. And it's a very beautiful grand trine between the three water signs of Scorpio, Pisces, and Cancer. And it's all happening late in the sign. So it's Jupiter at 24 Cancer, Mars at 27 Scorpio, and the Pisces South Node, and Neptune and Saturn, all in late Pisces. And so this moon, this Hallows Eve, is not, this Pisces and Scorpio is not connected to the Grand Trine, but it is a part of it. And we're at a time period where Mars will be moving into Sagittarius. Right now it's in Scorpio, kind of doing shady things like, because Mars is creating individuation. And so when you have it in Scorpio, it rules the military and the nations. And Gary's been talking about things going on around that. We talked before this. And so there's like all this subtle things happening that we're not aware of that are just behind the scenes. Once Mars goes into Sagittarius, things are going to blow up a little. And we're going to have a lot of sudden incidences, sudden shocks. And this will be for the next week as well, because Mercury is already there in Sag opposing Uranus. So the big Uranus opposite Mercury. So sudden shocks, sudden shifts, sudden changes. What else did I write? Sudden actions. And with Sagittarius, truths coming to the foreground, awareness, sudden truths also coming. And this is Mercury and Sag, so there's no patience and there's no real communication. And not long after this, on November 8th, Mercury's going to go retrograde. So a really great time period for writers and editing and doing your own writing and reflecting. Really good time for that. But in the overall mundane social world, there could be a lot of confusion and a lot of communication mishaps, especially between different militaries and nations. But it looks like for this week, for this October 31st, like me and Gary were talking, it is possible something sudden can occur. I don't think it'll be anything big like a huge Carrington event or anything. That may actually be possible on November 19th, 18th next month prior to the new moon, but we'll get to that later. But that could be another significant node or possibility. Gary, I'll stop there. What insights do you want to share?
Um, I thought it was quite interesting that you spoke about, was it Sagittarius and um, sudden news or information coming out or truths coming out about certain things. And I do think that we're on the cusp of learning bits and pieces. We seem to be, how can I put this? There seems to be more and more revelations or little truths coming out currently at the moment on so many different levels, spiritual, financial, and otherwise. And obviously, this is more of sort of like a spiritual self growth kind of conversation that we're having. And so I think what we're probably going to start seeing is with the energies coming in for me personally, is we're going to start actually seeing truths about ourselves. I think we might start seeing or cutting through some of the noise and really start to come into our own truths as much as anything else. I think that's a very, very key point at this time as we observe and don't absorb, which I know one of my favorite sayings, and we'll get into that kind of thing in a little while more so. But I do think that this is the point in which we're talking about self growth as much as everything else. And those truths are about ourselves and how we sit in this realm and how we understand our role in this realm.
Well said. I'm gonna add to, we can get into what we talked about too, about the whole simultaneous mind concept of apprehending contradictions and paradoxes. And this is what me and Gary are talking about right here. So Mercury is in Sag now, but it's still close to Mars. So our mind, our communication is very connected to our need for boundaries and our need for individuation. And so there could be anger and related to establishing boundaries. And it's opposite Uranus right here. So here's what it is. It's the Gemini Sagittarius axis. And this is where, out of this tension, is where conflict will be born, or can be born in this next week. And this is the highlighted part. And if we go to the human design chart, I'll stop this and share the human design one. Then we'll see it in a different way. It's still in opposition, but it shows differently. So here it is. It's the axis of the 2034, which is a Gemini, gate 20, and a Sagittarius, gate 34. And if I move the images of me and Gary, we can see here that in gate 34 is Mercury. And so Mercury's right down here. And then in the 20 is Uranus. And so Uranus will be retrograding these next 6 months till May. It'll be going back into Taurus. And with all these retrogrades occurring, because it's not just Mercury in retrograde this month, Saturn and Neptune are already going retrograde, as well as Pluto and Jupiter will be going retrograde as well. So overall, it's a month of review, resetting, reconnecting, reassessing our progress. And by progress, I mean our work on our Aries vortex vision, because our ultimate date for the completion or the gradual completion of the Aries vortex will be around February, March of next year. And so we're all working this turbulent kind of track, steps forward, steps back, until our vision is set forth. And so we all still have that time. We're still going back and forth. So this month will be a time to reflect and see where we're at. Now, me and Gary were talking about, and this is really interesting. Gary was bringing up how he's felt over this past week about his like awareness, like being present and feeling like he's somewhere else at the same time. And I brought up to him that this is what we were talking about a month ago when I was saying that this whole transit of Uranus in gate 20, especially for us manifesting generators who already have this channel, it's like there's more energy on our presence, our awareness in the moment. Because the 20 is all about calling out what's incorrect directly to people and situations and the environment. When something's not right, not correct, we call it out. And it's this awareness that's present in the moment with others, but at the same time, it's on a different frequency. And with Uranus there, it's kind of a simultaneous awareness where we're here in the body, but we're also aware of other frequency layers of reality. And we're being aware and tuned to that as well. And it's a lesson for all of us because Uranus is going to be there a long time. It's going to go back into Taurus, then it's going to jump back in gate 20. And we'll have it for most of next year, if not. And so what that experience is like this precognition. So we're all kind of getting these psychic hits into the future and what it may look like, but it's all fragmented because again, the Aries vortex is not clear until next February, March. But the visions could be a little clear. The dream visions, that they could be a little clear. Right now in the physical world, it's a lot of chaos and it's a lot of shards and fragments of like refracted glass is how we're perceiving things. Gary, you want to jump on that?
Yeah, I mean, I'm really feeling it at the moment. As Maten said, I've got the 47, the 24, the 20, and the 34. So, so the head is kind of somewhere else, but I've also got this channel running through me that's kind of grounding me with the solar plexus, and so I'm here, but I'm also somewhere else, and what I've felt is almost like I'm daydreaming. This last week has almost been like I'm walking through a dream, and it's actually enabled me to take another step forward on my own personal journey of my own personal growth in the understanding of some of the concepts that I've been struggling with. I'm not struggling, but thinking about, I, I've often got stuff going around in my head and I put stuff together. And at the moment, some of this conceptual work is really coming into play in the personal understanding in a way that I feel able to express in a way that I think might make sense to somebody. Because it's all very well talking gobbledygook and it not really triggering or understanding of. And so before when we came on, I was talking to Maten about it's fundamentally as above and so below in many respects. Now, I was talking to a lovely lady today, and I'm not going to name her, but I was talking to a lovely lady today. And as we're talking, some of the pieces of the puzzle just dropped into place. And the conversation was about death and the afterlife, and a fun subject, obviously. But there's two trains of thought. You've got don't go into the light, or you've got the light, and you've got the dark, a dark hole or a dark space. Stay in the dark, stay in the dark, or go into the light. And what truly hit me today was the lessons we're learning here now repeat multidimensionally through all the layers, including the conceptual nature or the perception of death. Because it's only the avatar that really stops. We never stop. But what struck me was in life, we're controlled by um, externalizations of our power. And what I mean by this, and I'm going to use a political example, is you've got the Democrats and the Republicans, the left and the right, whichever way you want to say it, right? And we're the creators of this realm. and we're told we have to go one way or the other way. And for a long time, I've been talking about the center ground. You know, observing, don't absorb. Stay centered. Hold your space. And this really hit home today with this example of passing over. Now, should you go to the light? Should you stay in the dark? Well, actually, why do you have to make any decision at all? There is no decision to make. You're a sovereign being, your own soul. You're your own archonic individual connection to source, a fractal to source. You don't have to make any decision because part of the growth mechanism is to stand in your own power. As above, so below. If you can stand in your power here in the game matrix, why can't you do it in the next level up? Why do you have to make a decision? And Meten gave me a really good analogy before we started. You're walking through the carnival. So there's carnival going on both sides of you. There's a circus here and big wheel here and whirly gigs, and we've got the horses and all the bits and pieces going on. And you're walking down that path, and you're being told you've got to make a decision to go into the circus or go onto the whirly gig. And actually, you don't have to make any decision at all because it's your journey and you can walk that path. And just by walking that path and observing in the afterlife means that you're not going to get dragged one way or the other. You're in control. And it's exactly the same down here in this reality. Oh, you've got to be this, or you've got to be that, or you've got to vote for the Democrats, or you've got to vote for the Republicans. Well, actually, no, I don't have to vote for anybody. And I can choose how I want to live my life. I can choose the path I want to walk. I can choose. I have choice in my conscious decisions on where I give and place my energy in this realm. As above, so below. It's about holding your space, holding your power, and holding your sovereign divinity, being true to yourself in this spiritual realm, which has been taken over. And we perhaps go into that in a minute. But Ten, I've said an awful lot of stuff there. What are your thoughts on what I've just said?
Just one thing, because I love how you recontextualize that the context of this this kind of forced decision making or expected decision making that we're supposed to do in this realm, this or that. Oh my God, make a choice, this or that, always this or that. And it just reminded me, like, I just came back from an immersion I was telling Gary about, like a dance immersion. And there was at the end, there was this thing that, the coordinator wanted us to do. And it was a cool thing. Nothing's wrong with it at all. But I remember just being like, no, I'm not going to do it. And so we were supposed to write something on a piece of paper, like how we felt, how we were going to re-enter the world or something after this event. And it was an amazing event. Not taking nothing away from it. And so we had a piece of paper and we're supposed to write it down. And, it's a sweet thing, especially because at the end of it, we didn't know what we were going to do with it, but we found out that each person was going to choose a different one, put it in the center and each choose one. And I find myself enjoying dissonance, the symmetry of this or that, the dualistic symmetry of attempting to constrict life into A or B, black or white, blue or red, is just, I don't need to be antagonistic towards it or rebel against it or anything like that. I just I just choose my moments of breaking that symmetry, breaking that dualism, and just breaking it and just going, not for me. I'm not going to do it. I'm going to choose not to involve myself. Just as little like social experiments, little practices, Everyone's doing this one thing. I'm in the group, and I have harmony with the group. I'm not looking to create this harmony. No one even noticed that I didn't do one. Someone said to me, they were like, "Oh, what did you put yours in already?" I said, "Oh no, I didn't do it." What? What do you mean you didn't do it? It was just such an expectation that, oh, of course everyone's going to do it, to
Yeah.
conform and do it. And again, it wasn't anything bad, I mean, it probably would have been better for me to do it. Then there wouldn't have been someone that went home without getting one. They didn't get a little, or they got it. I almost put it into the center, but it would have been blank, it wouldn't have said anything. So that in itself is a message, right?
Yeah.
And, but I just thought it was fun. I just like, we don't have to, we have to be, I think that it's important to be wary of falling into any extreme. Had I been the coordinator of the event, would I have freaked out if not everyone did exactly what I shared and wrote a note? Maybe. So it brought that awareness to me like, I'm going to present, I'm going to do my thing, and people are going to do it or not. I'm not going to be attached to it. That's the energy we want. Someone in the middle of our vid right now may say, "Yeah, fuck him," and turn off the video.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
You know it's gonna happen, somewhere, some place, someone,
Yeah. They're
it's
talking shit. I don't resonate. Jog on.
jog
That's
on.
fine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a jog on. And so yeah, so I'm starting to enjoy playing with disrupting symmetry and observing how it affects others. Oh, what? You didn't do it too? And it's not a polemic. It's not like, well, I didn't do it because I don't vote because, I know better than that and I don't want to be responsible. No, it didn't, there doesn't need to be an attached polemic. It's
No.
like, yeah, I just choose not to do it. Are you ready to judge me for that? No, you're not. And I'm not either. Because judging things is what upholds all the fear-based black and white propaganda that we get all the time and everywhere. Soon as we judge it, we hold it in place. Soon as we say that person's evil, bad, blah, 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 and we project identify because we can't hold it ourselves. So for those of us that are doing that, bless you as Gary would say, bless them. That's all we can be. Well, that's the best you can do at the moment. That's fine. But I think we're moving into a spiritual awareness kind of space, that enables us to actually start to realize we're judging and we're castigating and projecting outward, and that, I don't have to do that anymore. Let me just see what it's like to not do it. See how it feels, you know.
Yeah. One of the points that you just raised there, Maten, and I think it's a really key one for me, is about the shouting about it or the creation of a ripple of no, I'm not doing it. And you didn't. You just decided not to do it and stayed quiet. Now, for me, that's more powerful than anything because you're using your inner power, your divine authority, and there's no need to shout about it. Why do you have to um, make a song and dance about it? Because when you make a song and dance about it, you're doing that because you're not in yourself in power. You want a reaction and you're deliberately asking for a reaction. You know, every action has an opposite reaction, doesn't it? You push, you get a pullback. Well, we're talking about holding that central line, observing and not absorbing, and walking through that very, very difficult wavy line of the yin and the yang, you know. And sometimes you have to be right over here, and sometimes you have to be right over here, and sometimes you have to be in the middle. And that's the trick of the game. But it's about not shouting from the rooftop about this. It's the quiet confidence and the inner peace of standing in your sovereign power and not having to do so. Because I think that actually produces more of an energy wave. It's subtle and it's subconscious. And it's like the tea light in the dark room. You've lit that tea light and you've put it in the dark room, and it's for up to others to decide if they're going to notice that light or not. You're not asking anybody to say, look here, I've got a light, I've got a light, look everybody, I've got a light. You've just lit it and you're holding it. You're holding your power. And if they want to come in and join that frequency of that energy, they're welcome to. And if they don't want to, they can, which is what Matenja said, where, oh, something's going to turn off now. And I went, it's the jog on part, because it's the resonance of, and I know we're on YouTube and we're expressing this, but what we're trying to do is express this information so that you might be able to recognize in your own self or see things that you can change, where you don't have to shout about it. You don't have to be the martyr. You just are in your own power, and you're at peace in your own power.
You said it all, at peace in your own power. You can't be in your own power if you're not at peace. Somewhere you have to be, somewhere inside you have to be within peace. It can express as anger or intensity, but somewhere inside you have to be at peace with yourself, with being you, thus expressing whatever emotions or whatever you need to. Powerful.
Yeah. Because it's not about confidence as such. It's just about knowing who you are. You know, I mean, I can only talk from personal experience. Um, I've looked in the mirror and I've looked at myself, and I've had to look at the stuff that I don't like, obviously, but also the more tricky thing is looking at stuff that you do like. You know, if I asked everybody to write a list of things about themselves, I can guarantee everybody will write negative stuff about themselves. That'd be the first thing. And actually, it should be the last thing you do, because you should be able to write all the positive things first. But we're not programmed in that way in this realm. This is an inversion of a realm. This is a negative overlay on top of something that should be the other way. So if you wanted to look at the concept of 3D and 5D, just to throw out two cliches, 3D, you're going to look at the negative first. In 5D, you're going to look at the positive first. You're going to go to love straight away, and not loathing and all the bits and pieces like that. And when you can finally look in the mirror and forgive yourself in love, know who you truly are, and feel comfortable because you've pulled enough layers of that onion away from yourself. And it's a continuous job of work. I mean, it never stops. It never stops. But to be able to do that and stand in your own power and know that you can be you, the true, authentic you, in peace and in love, holding that candle, that's a very powerful thing. And for me, that scares the dumb elites shitless.
It's being, I like to use the word beingness, but who gives a fuck which word? And we can all use whatever word we want,
Yeah.
But I like to say beingness because you're just in beingness. And too often I think people perceive that as like an aspect of nothingness, but it's not, because your presence is talking, even if there's no words coming out. Your frequency field is singing its song, and when we speak, it's just some notes added to that, but the song's already playing all the time, wherever we go. The presence is powerful.
I'm sure we've noticed it recently more than ever, but those that resonate with us have been coming together. And I know it's been happening for some time, but it's more and more so at the moment, and certainly in the last 2 or 3 months, that those that really, really resonate with your inner being, your true essence, are drawn like magnets together in a oneness and a wholeness, which is absolutely spectacular. And it's something that all the division of you've got to do this, you've got to do that, that's their biggest fear. I mean, when we're looking at the duality, I obviously go to Janice, you know, the two faces looking at two different places, the double-headed eagle, the head's looking in two separate places at the time. Same bird, same wing, but it's looking in two different places. The body controls everything, and the body is always that central line. The dumb elites do it. We learn from them. So for me, I'm in that central line. I'm the body. I'm grounded, and I can see, and I'm in peace with myself and what I'm doing. I'm confident in what I'm doing because I understand as a manifesting generator that I have the ability to create my reality.
All right, let's jump into another chart. Is that okay?
Yeah, of course, brilliant.
All right, let's do it. So this one is for November 5th. I'm gonna start out with astrology again. So on November 5th, we're gonna have a full moon. It's gonna be in Taurus around 13 degrees. I like to do the moment before, the degree before, because I think usually the culmination of events happens prior to the actual precise moment. And so this is a, let's see, okay, so this is a full moon and in Taurus. So endings on the Taurian sphere, and that's ruled by Venus. So Venus is here in Libra still, slowly moving into Scorpio. And so during this time here on November 5th, we have a lot going on. This is a time where power dynamics are going to come into play again as Venus enters Scorpio. All the planets are moving slowly into Scorpio and Sagittarius. And Sagittarius, a fire sign, playing with that opposition to Uranus is going to cause all the sudden shocks and intensities from moment to moment throughout the month. There'll be periods of calm and then periods of kind of, as I was saying, just sudden shifts and actions. And that'll start around October 30th, 31st, as we were going over in the last chart. So I got some other notes here that there's going to be a narrative that comes up because Mercury is currently, and we could see right here it's in Sagittarius, but it's going to go back into Scorpio and it's going to meet Venus and there's some kind of narrative about we're going to be revisiting an old story this month and also revisiting things that we didn't quite complete or finish up and we're going to need to and some shadow information is going to surface as well. With Venus surfacing going into Scorpio, could be old relationships could come up, or some kind of toxic relationships, dark side kind of stuff could come up to be cleared as well. And Mercury will go retrograde at 6 degrees Sag on November 10th. And as it goes backwards, it's going to oppose Uranus again. And so that's why I'm saying these hits of Scorpio moving into Sag are all going to oppose Uranus and Gemini. Even as Uranus moves backwards itself into Taurus, it's still all very close in degrees. And on November 12th, there'll be a conjunction of Mercury and Mars again, and that's been going on. So more tension, like communication is just pretty difficult this month with everyone kind of standing their ground, holding to their vision, holding to their selfish vision, and no, this is what I want to do. No, this is what I want to do. Gary was already sharing this stuff, and we'll share more about it in terms of the mundane astrology and the geopolitical environment. And that'll build us up into the new moon on November 19th. But before we get into that, I'm going to share the human design chart and then get some hits on Gary's reflections on it. So in the human design, we can see there's one active channel, and it's the channel of self-identity. It's a projector channel. It's coming off the G center of identity into the manifestation channel of the throat. And it's individuated. It's right there. It's the Taurus Scorpio channel. And that channel is about the recognition of when you're actually being yourself by the quality and frequency and expression of your voice. So usually this particular channel is related to vocal skills, and so this will be active November 5th for the full moon. So it's actually a deep introspective full moon, and it's a time to also take care of the body that on the Taurus Scorpio axis. And so a really good time to do healing treatments during this time. And yeah, it's the only active channel. And you could see Uranus is already retrograded out of the 20 into the Taurus channel of 8, line 6. So Uranus is actually moving right here to this gate of manifestation connected to the 1. So this will change the energy significantly for a little while. It'll be a good time to just recover, have a moment to take care of yourself, and or some time to take care of yourself. And yeah, Gary, any reflections on that? Any add-ins there?
I think from seeing the two charts together, which is really, really handy, we're clearly going to be bounced around quite a bit. And the fact that the throat is open means that it might be a time to be mindful of your words, as we were saying, standing in your power, but being not being silent, but being mindful of what we say. Because I think if the energy's bouncing around and we're expressing ourselves in the wrong way, we could cause issues for ourselves that will create that could bite us on the arse. I'm struggling to express it in words other than my basic vocabulary.
No, it's great. It's what it is.
But is that what you see as well, potentially, Maten?
Yeah, I think you actually said the core of it because this this full moon is right after this full moon, a couple of days later, and we're already in the shadow of it, but Mercury will go retrograde. And it's going retrograde in Sagittarius. And Sagittarius is a sign where when it's overexcited, it could just blurt out things. It's very honest, it's very direct, and it could just say something and someone gets hurt or upset and it's, oh, I didn't, I mean to hurt anybody, but it's just kind of blusters forward and just says whatever it feels or it doesn't reflect too much on what it's thinking, especially Mercury and Sag. And when it goes back into Scorpio, it's kind of like hermiting. It's kind of like going back into its shell. And a retrograde with all these planets retrograde, man, it is kind of an energy of like, okay, a lot of us are going back into our shell, refocusing, resetting, reviewing, making sure we're on track, right? And Scorpio is coming back to the spirit, coming back to the self. What is it that I'm working on? What's important for me? How do I feel about it? What do I need? And so there's a tension there. And I think with all this sudden potentiality of people like blurring out the truth or what their truth is, it's all this like fiery themes of a radical like expression of something, and it can cause a lot of tension, and it's correct, it could be correct as well. So just pay attention to your context. If you're doing a YouTube like me and Gary, then blurt out your truth and share, but do within the context of the boundaries of the YouTube demigods as well, you know what I mean?
Yes.
Don't say anything too crazy, you know so yeah, that's right on, Gary. That's right on. This is a month of kind of stepping back, coming back to self.
I also get the feeling, and it's a feeling only, that we're talking about the self. But when we start looking at the wider picture, I think we could be seeing countries or certain leaders saying some stupid stuff, certainly, and causing tensions. And I think that comes back to part of the beginning of the round in as such, that Maten spoke about earlier. And I think we'll see this in the personal, without doubt. But I think we'll also see this externalized by some of the leaders. There's a lot of tension out there at the moment in many, many respects. There's a financial war. Um, I nearly said that there's a dick thrusting contest, but fundamentally it is, isn't it? You know, I mean, like I don't know any, but it's like mine's bigger than yours. Yours is no, mine's bigger than yours, and we're going to see this kind of thing playing out in all its ugliness on the world stage. And this is another one of those where, because our throat center's open, it's very easy for us to get drawn into this energy and express something that's not appropriate or could bite you on the arse at a later date. So be mindful of, and again, this is what part of the show is about, be mindful of what's going on, not getting dragged into it, observing, not absorbing. Be mindful of your response would be good, because as Maten said, once we get past this full moon, we're going to have and all the planets in retrograde, we're going to have that opportunity to reflect, and there'll be a reflection, and it's better to reflect on what's gone on in a way of taking another step up the ladder, rather than you've slid down that ladder and you're in the world of shame of, oh my god, I shouldn't have said that to Maten. Oh my god, how can I look him in the face again? You know, so
I apologize.
I mean, what do you feel about that, Maten? Do you feel that the energies are in that respect how we're going to see it?
Oh yeah, I mean, like we need to like make sure that we're exercising properly so that our legs are nice and stretched and we're not putting our foot in our mouths, you know, like you said, pretty much. We got to be wary. And, you know, and again, it's easier to do when you can kind of have that, create that space for yourself to check in, to reset, reflect, to reassess what you're doing. It's actually a great time for writing, you know, whether you journal or whether you write. It's a great time for editing and writing and getting things out internally and coming back. It's a Scorpio time, you know. It's we're gearing for winter, you know, we're going in to our own space and you know, and we're still dealing with a lot of energies. The Aries vortex is still not yet settled. And it's really a moment in time to check on our progress. Even Gary and I were talking about the progress on our channels and the different paces it's moving at. And that is a check-in time period. Okay, what's working? What's not working? You know, let me take notes. What's been successful? What's not been successful? Okay, how do I want to move forward? How do I want to continue to move forward? That's all. Not
Yeah,
not not a big deal. But as we lead into, and then let's go ahead and get into it, if that's cool.
yeah, of
Uh,
course.
this is the new moon chart, the astrology chart, and then I'll pull up the human design. This is the astrology chart for the month. And this one is in Scorpio, 28 degrees. It's been fascinating. The last maybe 3, 4 months, all the new moons of the month are in the later degrees. They're all happening around the 21st, 18th, 19th, 23rd of the month, and they're all happening in late degrees. And this one's no different. We have this new moon in Scorpio, 28 degrees, and the moon's almost there. I like to do the day before. And this is a new beginning and at an ending point. So it's like the final hurrah of this late Scorpio energy. And this late Scorpio energy is right before it goes into Sag. So it's like the final things we need to look at in relationship to our spirit, our needs, what we can trust, who we can trust. These are all the deep, deep, it's important to penetrate the deep meaning of the sign of Scorpio, which is not that it's going to sting someone or injure someone or attack. I mean, all those things are relevant too. But it's really just looking out for who can I trust and who can I not trust? Who's with me? Who's my people? Who's my tribe? Who's my group? Who can I trust? Who can I be with? And that's what it is here with this particular new moon is we have the re-beginning here, and it's you can see all the planets lined up in late Scorpio. Venus is there, so we've done all our explorations, our deep, intimate, sometimes relational explorations into the spirit, into the soul this month. And at near end of the month, we'll have a new reset, a new feeling, a new direction. And so on this new moon, have your new visions or your reset of your visions set up so that you can move forward with intent. Because Mars will already be there. So you will already be beginning to take action with Mars and Sagittarius. And that's what it is. North Node is still in Pisces, so we're still being guided by our intuition, not overthinking, not overstudying things, not depending on the mind, but the one thing that Ra and Gary and I have been talking about human design and the 2027 projections. One aspect of that where I think Ra is right on is in the transition of the authority of human beings from the mental centers to the solar plexus is right on because the solar plexus is a center of awareness. And it's emotional awareness, it's feeling awareness, it's intuitive awareness, and not in the sense of the spleen, a little different. But we're no longer being over dependent on our minds. Our minds will do what they do. They're good at planning. Let them plan. They're good at thinking through things. Let them, or investigating or, becoming a detective to find something. Let it do its work, but live in the other spaces, live in the body. And that's the message of this particular new moon and this closing of the month as we move out of the Mercury retrograde into December. And the month of December will be interesting, and we'll speak about that when we get there.
Yeah.
Gary, anything you want to add to that?
No, I was just what struck me is what you were saying was all of what we're talking about is actually growth. You can't grow when life's easy. You get lazy. When you're put under stress, you either roll over or you get up and get on with it. Okay. And and what I mean by that is if you take an Olympic athlete, a swimmer, for instance, every morning they get up and they'll do 100 lengths or 200 lengths on that swimming pool. Okay. They're putting themselves under stress and they're going through a process to get somewhere else. Or you can rock up at the pool, decide you don't fancy that day, and you ain't going to win any medals. You're not in the race even. Okay. And I think what we're going to see is the opportunity from that stress to grow and develop in ways that we can't even conceive yet because this new moon on the 19th, the full moon is endings, and we're then going to go through this period that's going to be very rocky, and then suddenly we've got this new moon, and it could be a new outlook, it could be a new enlightenment from all the training we've been doing in that swimming pool up until this point, and suddenly we're going to get some clarity, we're going to get some clarification on certain things, whether it's the personal or whether it's geopolitical, banking or otherwise. But it could be one of those points in time where the veil falls from the eyes and we really get to see some real interesting bits and pieces that's going on.
Yeah, well said. Wow. That's all right on as far as I see it. I'm going to share the human design chart now, and then we'll just like spin off wherever it is to close it off, and then we'll be good. Let's see. Okay, so this one is also for the new moon, but it's the human design chart. So you could see the 8-1 is still active, especially with Uranus in retrograde now in Taurus. And Uranus retrograde in Taurus for the next 6 months. I think we'll talk more about that when we do next week, when we do the one on the geopolitical environment, because Uranus is going to have to do with the Earth and sudden shocks and intensities related to the mundane and geopolitical plane of the Earth, and where we all are and what's happening physically and weather-wise and military-wise and all those aspects, and financially wise as well. So we still have this active, the 8-1. So it'll be active for a little while. So pay attention to the quality of your voice when you speak and its frequency and tone. I know when I'm tired, like my voice is not as full, for example. But I know when in the beginning of the day, like now, I know that when I'm fully present in my body and speaking, and all the tones and all the vibrations of expression of the color rays and of who I am, I know that my voice is very clear and expressive and expressing what it needs to express. And so that's something to pay attention to this month as well. The quality of your voice, that will tell you the quality of your intention and of your presence in your own body. Gary, you want to add to that?
No, I think you've nailed it on that one, to be fair. Um, the only thing I kind of want to bring into this is that we are the creators of our realm. And what we feel in our gut brain, our heart brain, and our head brain, and as Maten says, we're going to become less from the brain, more into the heart and the gut area, um, in a more balanced way. And with this expression, when we have this balance and we then start to express, we're actually creating reality tunnels. We're creating a new realm and a new opportunity for ourselves. And I think one of the things that we should be really, really mindful of is what we want to create. Now, we've obviously spoken, or I've spoken about, walking down in the circus, and you've got all the bits and pieces, and you're walking your path. But where do you want that path to go? How do you want it to go? What do you want from this? And 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 by this, I'm kind of talking about being in your power again and consciously about this. We're influenced by many, many people and many things, and that's part of the design. It's part of the game that we're in. But I think this is a period where we have the opportunity to really start to focus on what we want and achieve that, regardless of what presidents, prime ministers, banks, or anybody else is doing, and all the digital ID rubbish and all this noise that's out there. We have the ability to make our own choice, which is where we started the show fundamentally. Okay. We make our own choices. So start making them how you want it to be. Stand in your power. You don't have to make a decision. Maten decided not to put something on that paper, right? But Maten created his own path. He didn't go into the clown circus part. He didn't go into the waltzes. He didn't jump on the horses. He went the way he wanted to, and he stood within his power, and it turned out absolutely fine. There was no downside to that. There was no downside to it. And in actual fact, Maten probably learned something from that as well.
Something.
Something. But but we have the opportunity, and I think what we're seeing at the moment is a lot of noise and a lot of distraction because we are the true creators of this realm. We create everything in this realm, literally, from NPCs to situations to everything. And when you're mindful of this and you go into meditation and you balance yourself, you're in that center line, you can create anything you want. Look forward to what you want, not around you to the noise. I know time is not linear and you live in the moment. But if you're living in the moment, creating something you want, as you take those steps forward, you then go into what you create.
Let me create a fun paradox here. Let's say that in an opposite way for fun. So, and this is such a tension, and we always talk about this. I talk about this with Gary, with Tula, how there's this idea in human design that Ra expressed that there's 16 Godheads and they cover the range of the 64 gates, and that somehow these Godheads influence us and are the ones that are actually being creative through us. If if our body expresses this choice, meaning to say that it's not a mental thing to necessarily always know what we want or even incept from there, but but not to be stopped in our steps by mental thoughts. The carnival that we're talking about is a mental carnival. It's not a physical one around you. It's your mind that you're assaulted with all these ideas all the time. Oh, I could do this. I could do that. Oh, you should do this. Or you should do that. All this noise. The carnival's in here. The vector of movement, of beingness, of what it is you want or your body wants to experience, your body will go in that direction. Can we allow that without the interruptions of the mind? Can you allow yourself, as I did, to just be comfortable in the moment and just my body decided it didn't want to write something on the paper? I mean, we could look at that from all ways. Like, that wasn't fair. Everyone else shared. Why didn't I share? You know, or we could look at it was like, I just didn't feel like doing it. Maybe I just didn't feel like I could be authentic in that moment and writing something down for everyone else. Maybe my authenticity was expressed in silence or the act of not doing it, and just being present with everyone. Because I didn't leave anybody. I didn't walk outside. I didn't say, I don't want to do that. I didn't get up and say, I'm not doing it, and make big noise about it, as Gary was pointing out. It was just a little quiet little light of, no, I'll be here and present with everyone, but I'm not going to do that extra added thing because it doesn't feel authentic for me. Maybe on a different day, I would have been excited. Oh yeah, I'm gonna write this. I'm gonna share with everyone what I want to do. But I remember I just, for a moment, I said, "Oh, I gotta think about. No, I don't want to. I'm not gonna do it." And it doesn't mean I don't want to or anything like that. Those are just thoughts. It's just my hands didn't produce the pen and the writing, and write it out. I don't have to judge it, qualify it, name it, judge it, be it, just being myself in that space for that moment. And so it's an interesting tension. We're observing this, we're charting this, because we have these we have this experience that we have on this realm, whatever it is. And it is true that what we focus on is what expands in our perception. And if it's judging others and, and qualifying and criticizing everything, I mean, some of us may have the discrimination to be good critics. I know I have that, according to my astrology. But I can't live in that, that's going to be I can go to work and do that, but then I could be off, and pay attention to what I want to expand. Right now there's beautiful sunlight today. Right after we're done, I'm going to go for a walk. I'm not going to bring my phone with me. I'm just gonna get to visit all the animals and like because where I live is a lot of animals and stuff, and it's great. So that's what it is. We'll leave it at that. We don't have to get too more philosophical. I mean,
No, no, I agree. I agree. But it's the mindfulness of the journey and enjoying the journey. And there's really no wrong and no right. There just is. There just is. And if you're happy in what you're doing and you're not overtly hurting somebody, I mean, and by hurting somebody, I mean being malicious in a way that would cause harm to somebody else, then you're really not doing anything wrong at all. You're just experiencing and being authentic in yourself in your journey of the experience that you require at that point in time.
allowing also for the disasters, allowing for the incompleteness, allowing for lack of consistency, allowing for the holes, allowing for. I mean, I'm a great example of it today. I broke my lamp a week ago, right? My it all fell down and crashed. And I don't know where the hell I put my camera. Maybe I'll have it next time. Hopefully I'll find it, but it's fine. This is what it is.
Yeah.
Imperfections. Let the imperfections be.
And you just said it then perfectly. It is what it is.
All right. I think we're good. I think hopefully you guys all enjoyed this.
Yeah.
I feel like I feel like my connection, knowing Gary for it doesn't even matter the temporality of it, just the ease by which connecting with him creates this space. So hopefully you guys can all feel that and enjoy that. And I really did. And yeah, we'll see you guys in our next chat. We're gonna do the financial part, whatever, wherever we're at,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
a week or so, and
Yeah.
we'll update you guys on what we see,
Yeah.
all the latest developments that have been happening, and on days that we called out too. So I'm excited about that we
Yeah.
actually.
Yeah. I mean, I've got a huge list of stuff, and I haven't necessarily dated it, but I've today I collated two sides of A4, which is very unusual for me, but I did because there was so much going on that I had to kind of put it into a way that made sense in my head because there's so much going on, you know. And as Maten said, it's going to be a good time potentially to write stuff down as we move through this energy in the personal. It could be a good idea for you to do so. Chart a few things, the things you're doing well, not the things you're doing badly. Focus on the good stuff. Focus on the good stuff.
All right. Thanks everyone for watching, and we'll see you guys soon.
We will. Love, light, and blessings. Bye, everyone. Thank you very much.